cloud, that would be easy. Okay, fine. Listen here. Now, what happens here is, so as per our condition, if at all 5 is given, what is 5? We are just taking 5 is the summation of two prime numbers. Two prime number like 3 and 2 and 3. Same way, just check with it. So if you take 7, if you add two prime number, consecutive prime number, are we getting the particular number 7? Okay, you can just take like this 2 and 3 or 3 and 5. Whether condition is satisfied, then this will not be coming under this criteria. The same way 11. For 11 also, just check for the two consecutive prime number. Okay, you're supposed to keep on add like this. The two consecutive prime number has to be added in this way. So this is what they did. So this will not be satisfied. For 11 also, no condition will be satisfied. Like 2 plus 3 gives you 5. 5 plus 5, 10. So 10 plus 7, 17. So for this also, condition is not satisfied. Coming to 13, you can just check with it. So like here we are getting 17, right? So 17, this is going beyond the range. So this is also not possible. Coming here. So here this satisfies the condition, right? So like 17 is given by 2 plus 3 plus, sorry guys, okay, 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7. What's happening here? So 3 plus 5 plus 7. This gives you 17. Okay, this condition is satisfied. Same way, we are supposed to check for each number whether sum of consecutive prime number gives the value. So if at all 20 is given as a value, what is the expected output they are given? For 20, the output they are given is 2. So based on which they are giving this 2, you can just notice it. 2 in the sense within a range of 20, I may have n number of prime numbers. But the prime number sum which satisfies this condition is only two numbers. One is 5 and other is 17. So that's the reason they are given 2 as the answer. If at all you are taking the range of 15, then we'll have only one value. So is this clear? So what is that we are printing? Here we are printing total number of the prime numbers sum which is less than or equal to n. So n is also there including in case they are mentioning like 17. So here if the given test case is 17, then it will be like 2. We are supposed to include the given number also. So are you clear with the scenario? Is there any doubt in the scenario? Clear, right? Okay. Just start doing here. Start doing this particular program, guys. Just think to it how this particular problem can be solved. It is very simple, right? So prime number program is the one which is keep on repeated questions, right? So we are just doing this prime number logic. Whenever we start programming from the C programming, from the day one, we are seeing this prime number. So this prime number is not a new one. So what is that we are supposed to check additionally? So we are supposed to first pick the prime number within a range. Okay, that is the first process you're supposed to do. Just I'm guiding you people. I want you to try it. I'll give like 5 or 10 minutes for each and every program. I want everyone to try it. Okay, I want everyone to try it. The first step is, so just generate a prime number within a range. Then followed by check for the condition. So what is the condition we are supposed to check? Check the sum of consecutive sum of this particular number produces the particular number, particular prime number. So you're supposed to leave off all the non-prime numbers, just check with the prime numbers alone. So I believe everyone is working on your laptop, right? Everyone is attending the session by using laptop. Am I right? Are you people attending by mobile? If at all you are joined by using mobile, I want you people to join the session by using laptop. So this program, whatever the questions we are discussing, I want you people to work parallelly. Yeah, you can. So you can just go with the approach whatever you want. So 2 pointers, fine, guys. And moreover, I didn't give any particular language for you people to work on. Like you work on C or Java. So whatever the language you are comfortable, you can just go ahead with the programming. Okay, if you're comfortable with C, you can just do in C. Or if you're comfortable with Python, you can just go in Python. I didn't give any language specific. Okay. That's the reason I didn't say any pointer or something. The reason is if I say pointer, Java doesn't have pointer and Python doesn't have pointer, right? That's the reason. You can just go ahead with whatever the language you are comfortable. So I can just tell you only the logical part here. So 2-step, pick all the prime numbers, then check with each and every prime number where the consecutive sum produces a particular number. If at all the consecutive sum is producing the particular number, then have a count of it. So here, just note this point. This is very important. Consecutive prime numbers. They are given some sequence here. You can, by looking at it, you can just identify it. I didn't stress some points. Like I want you people to just look there. When I'm reading, if I stress certain points, you can just easily crack it. So I didn't stress certain points. So you want to explain the question once again? Sure, I'll explain you. Guys, I'm explaining. Those who want to explain the question again, and others, you can start working on it. Okay, listen here. This is a question just made in a single, within a short form here, guys. Listen here. This is a question part. So those who want to repeat, I'm repeating. So this question is all about sum of prime number. Okay, so let me read the question once and explain you. Some prime number can be expressed as a sum of other consecutive prime number. So here, what is that is the question all about is you'll be given a like you can take any number. Like if you take 5 is a summation of two numbers like 2 and 3. So here if I say 2 and 3 are prime number. So 5 is a summation of 2 and 3, right? So 2 and 3 are prime number. Even the same 5 can be produced with a summation of like 1 and 5 or multiple combinations. But here this question is especially what they are speaking about is they are speaking about prime number. So we are supposed to pick the number which are formed by sum of other prime numbers. The prime number should be a consecutive number, right? This is the rule they are saying here. So this is the first line what they're coming to say here. Some prime numbers can be expressed as sum of other consecutive prime numbers. Okay, for example, they have given us if you pick the number 5, 2 and 3 summation gives you 5 where 2 and 3 are prime number. The same way if I pick a value 17, so I can form like 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 gives you 17. Here the important rule, it is following two rules. One is all the numbers are prime number and second condition is all the numbers are consecutive prime numbers. You can notice it. I didn't miss like any 3 or 5 in between. So it is a sum of consecutive prime numbers. This is the second rule, right? So it has to follow both the rule. One is prime number, another is a consecutive prime number. So this is following. And the next one, if you look at the 41, so summation of like starting from 11 till 13, summation gives you like 41. So this is the task. So what is our task is now find out how many prime numbers which satisfies this property are present in the range of 3 to n. Okay, 3 to n subject to constraint. The summation should always starts with the number 2. This is what they mentioned it. And what is it we are supposed to print in the output? Print total number of such prime numbers which is less than or equals to n. Okay, so if at all 20 is given, we can just see to it. I have written a range like 1 to 21. So 1 to 21, I highlighted the value like all the prime number I have highlighted. So as per the condition, when you're trying to sum the prime numbers, so these numbers 2, 3 doesn't satisfy the condition. When you come for 5, this satisfy the condition. Same way 7 doesn't satisfy the condition. 11, 13. Okay, 11, 13. Doesn't satisfy the condition. 17 satisfy the condition. So sum of consecutive prime numbers. Sorry, clear now? Okay, someone has sent me some passage. Okay, fine. Yes, you are right. So why can't you try with the program, Ragish? You wrote scenario, what has to be done. That's fine. Make it faster, guys. And moreover, when you write a program, try to write in an optimized way. So I believe that when if at all in a previous class, if at all we have seen prime number, I might have told you about the optimizing the program. Write the program in an optimized way. So optimization should think about your space complexity as well time complexity. Both the thing has to be considered here. So here I given an open choice, guys. You can just go over with any programming which you are comfortable. Make it fast. Guys, this one is very simple, like prime number logic. That's it. So 2 prime number, moreover, the summation should be a prime number. Sum it and check with the sum the data and check for a prime number. Have you completed? I believe more than 10 minutes are given. Shall we discuss or you want few more minutes? Come on. Guys, on information, like if at all it is the session is ending by 40 minutes, I want everyone to join in the same link, guys, by making use of same link. Okay, this I believe that will be ending by 40 minutes. Okay, so you can just join with us, make use of the same link to rejoin it. So have you did? Are the people still trying? Respond me. So I believe that you people are doing it. Okay, let me wait for a few minutes, then we can just go ahead. Guys, make it faster. So if at all you're facing some errors, you can let me know. I'll help you out. Have you did? Shall we discuss here? Come on, respond me. We have very minimal time, guys. I don't have that much time to give you. Like we don't have 1 day session. We have only 2 hour session. So as much how much we can cover, we are supposed to do that one. Yes, done. Okay. Okay. So shall we go ahead with Python? Is everyone comfortable with Python? Shall we do solve the problem by using Python? Or you want me to do in C programming? Which language you are comfortable with? Python. Okay, fine, fine. Okay, guys, we can just start doing this one. Okay, just give me a minute. I'm just sharing ideally, guys. So here, what is this program all about? It's completely a prime number, right? So what is the two series they are doing it? So we should know what is it happening from the user. We are accepting n value. So n value is accepted. That's the first step. So you just accept the number from the user. So that is the first step. You're doing it. Okay, enter the number. So this is the first one. So after this, what I told you to generate the series, right? So I told you to generate the prime number series. That is the second step I given you. Generate the prime number series. From the series, we can just go ahead. So the next one is the prime number series. If at all you want to generate a prime number series, what does that require? I should store somewhere, right? Then only I can pick the value, I can work on it. So for storing, let me declare a list. Okay, so let me declare a list for storing the value. Now we are going to go check with the prime number series. For generating the prime number, we know that we need two loops. One loop is for like if you have a range of value, like if value 20 is given, so we are supposed to take value 1 and check the whether it is a prime or not. Same way I'll take the next number, I'll check prime or not. So we'll take a two for loop. The first for loop, let me mention for I in range of starting from 2 till the given number. Okay, I'm going to take a range of values. And here, what is it I'm going to do here is, I'm going to take one number and I'm going to check for the prime number series and we are going to work on here. So followed by it, we can have for j in range of starting from 2 till this I value. Guys, this is nothing great. So we are doing prime number generation. So two logic has to be written. Prime number generation within the series. So within the series, we are supposed to generate it. And here, what is that? We are supposed to check with it. If at all, my I value is divisible by j. If it is divisible, break your process. Else. So you're supposed to add this value to a list. So I believe that everyone is clear with the prime number logic. Do you want to explain the prime number logic, guys? If at all required, you can just let me know. I'll explain prime number logic. Are you people clear with the prime number logic, or do you want me to explain the prime number logic? Come on. Give me some response. Do you want me to explain prime number logic, or shall we go ahead directly with the implementation part? So few people are saying continue, few people no, ma'am. Okay. So few people are saying they want to explain. Okay, let me give 1 or 2 lines all about, guys. So if you take the number like 5. So if you want to say it a prime number, the number which has the 2 factors, the 1 and the itself is called a prime number, right? Okay. So like the number 7, which has only 2 factors like 1 and 7. The number which has only 2 factors are called prime number. Okay. The number which has more than 2 factors. If you take 6, the factors will be like 1, 2, 3 and 6. So these are the factors of 6. So the number which has more than 2 factors are not prime number. This is a simple logic. Okay, just a minute. I'll check your code just after completion of this. Okay, and the next one, like if you take like 100, the prime number, the factors of it could be like 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, 100. So for any number which is not a prime number, which will have more than 2 factors, this is a simple logic. So the same rule we are following here. So what is that we are doing here is, if at all the number, okay, we are taking the number like 2 to I. So 2 to I in the sense, what is that we are doing? If at all the I value is like 5. So this series is like, we are just taking like, if n value is 20, assume that the given number is 20. I'm supposed to generate this particular prime number series within 20. What you can do is, here this is literally like you're passing 2, 3, 4, 1 by 1, you're passing till, okay, till 19, right? So if it is so, you can just put plus 1. So including the number, right? So you can just put plus 1. So till 20, you're going to pass 1 by 1 number, and you're going to check here by using this loop whether it is a prime number or not. Okay, by using this loop, you're checking whether it is a prime or not. So how is that you're checking is, so it is all about, you're checking here this, what is the condition? We know that the number which has the 2 factors. The 2 factors will be, one is the 1 factor and other number is a given factor. So in this loop, I'm not including 1. So since I'm starting with 2. So if at all right now, if I take some value, like assume that I'm going to take a value like 5. Okay, if I take a value like 5, so you can notice that in this loop, I'm taking starting from 2 and I'm just going only till 4. I'm not including the given number. If at all the n value is considered as 5, I'm starting from 2 and 5. I'm starting from 2 and going only till 4. I'm not including 1 and 5 here. Okay, so here what happens, when the number which are prime number should not be divisible, will not be divisible within this, with this condition. The reason is, the number which is not a prime number will have a factors in between, right? So you can notice that this is not a prime number which has a factor in between here like 2 and 3. The same way, this is also not a prime number which has some factor in between. So we are using this rule only, that the number which has a factors apart from 2, which is nothing but given number, and 1. So those numbers are non-prime numbers. We are using this logic only here. So we are starting from 2 till the given number. For any program, you're going to go to given number. So here we are not, so till given number minus 1, sorry guys, given number minus 1. So you can optimize it, don't worry. So you can optimize it, given number minus 1, it's supposed to go here. And what is that we are doing? We are not including 1 and the given number. So what happened? The number should not be divisible. If the number is not divisible throughout the program, then what happened? We are supposed to add to the list. So what happens here? At the end, the range of prime numbers will be generated and it will be added to the list here. Okay, this is a condition, guys. Simple condition, like for numbers with 2 factors. Number will have only 2 factors or called prime number. Number with more than 2 factors or not a prime number. This is a common prime number logic. So we are making use of this rule only to check here. So this outer loop is for iterating 1 by 1 to check the value 1 by 1 starting from 2. So since 1 is neither prime nor composite, we are omitting it, and then we are starting from 2 and followed by, we are going to the given number. And here the same way, this condition, as I said, we are starting from 2 since 1 will always be the factors. And the given number also will be the factor. So we are not supposed to include it. So that's the reason I'm just taking 2 to I. And we know that in Python, if I mention I, it will go only till I minus 1. So we are taking this as a condition. We are checking that, do you have any factor in between the range? If it is there, break it. If it is not there, when you keep on executing throughout the program perfectly, then we are supposed to include this value. So this is done. Okay, so this is done. Then followed by, you can just go ahead. So normal prime number generation series is alone done. First, let me do one thing. Let me display this series. Then followed by, you can just go ahead, guys. Let me print it. Print the list. Okay, let me print it. We can just go ahead, followed by it. So people may know what is happening step by step. So else semicolon is missing, guys. Sorry for it. So I'll just share you the output window. So if at all I'm giving like 25, something is wrong right here. This has to be given here. This has to be given here outside, guys. So since we are given inside, this is a problem. Okay, if you are giving outside, then everything will be fine. So outside this one. This for else part can make it this else as here, else of here, this loop. Now everything will be fine. I'll just share you guys. You can just go ahead. So we took much time during the startup itself here. Okay. So if 25 is given, now all the prime number within this range has been generated. So for what is the logic we wrote? Generation of prime number. And in this generation of prime number, if at all you attended my previous class, I told you that write in an optimized approach. So what is this optimized approach I'm speaking about here is, it is all about the number of iteration. So it is not required to go till n times. So if at all you want to check the given number is a prime number or not, if the given number is 100, so as per this logic, what is that you're doing is you're executing n times, like 100 times. Isn't it? Like n times you're executing in order to find it's a prime number or not. And here the time complexity is big O of n. So this will not be helpful at all the approaches. The reason behind it is, so you can just notice our question itself. Okay, just let me go here. Look at here. So right now we have seen one question, right? So look at this question. So look at the n value. So what is the n value here? So the logic you're writing prime number, that everything is fine. I do agree. But look at here, you're starting from 2. That range is fine. So look at this zeros. How many zeros are there? So we have 9 zeros. So literally, what is this meaning? It is 10 to the power of 9. So if we have like 100, iterating 100 times, it's fine. So when you go for 10 to the power of 9 times, 10 to the power of 9 times, then what happened? Our program has to execute those many times. Then what happens here? Timeout error occurs. So you may be fixed with the time error. So this is what I told you. Look after the time complexity also for each and every program. That is very important. So now we can just go here. And what is the way for optimizing this one, guys? How can we optimize this? Come on. How can we optimize this number of iteration? Yes, good. I can see many people has written. Good. Good, good. By using square root of time, right? So the 2 times is 2 ways possible here. The one way is like going for the n by 2 times. Yes, guys. Yes, you're right. You're right. So here, let us have a quick move. Okay. So here, the one way is going till n by 2 times. The reason behind it is for any given number, you can just notice the factors only till the half. If the given number is 6, we'll have only factors till the 3. If the given number is 100, we'll have factors only till 50. So it is not required. If we somehow here we are not including the given number, right? So here if there are 5 is the given number, we are taking from 2 to 4. That is the range. So taking 2 to 4, and here also you can just notice, if you take like 6 is a given number, you will take from 2 to 5, you will be taking it. So if 100 is a given number, you will take from 2 to 99. Somehow you know that the factors only will be till the half. The next half will not have the factor. Then why should I go for unnecessarily 1 more 50 times? That's waste of time, right? So you can just go only till the half of the number. That is the second optimizer approach. So half of the number like n by 2 times. So this is also will give you the same output. So complexity wise, this n by 2 is not going to give you much difference, guys. Like here, by 2 plus 1. So when you execute this one, this is not going to make you much difference. We'll have a little different. So here, just now executed, you can notice that. And this is also going to generate the same output. Output wise, you don't find any different. But what happened? Your iteration might have reduced to half. But if you want to make it more optimized, you're supposed to go to the square root of the given number times. I believe that everyone is following me. So why I have told you like n by 2 times. For any given number, we'll have only half of the number as the factor. Again, the given number will be the factor. somehow you're not including 1 and the given number, then why to go unnecessary to the next half? This is what I told you. It is not required to go here. And here n by 2 also gives you only the complexity like big O of n. So when we write n by 2 here, so constants will be avoided. So we know the time complexity calculation, right? So it will be avoided. So this also gives you more or less worst case only. So when you want to go with the best case, then we are supposed to go to the square root of the given number time. Square root of the given number time, what is the reason behind it? So I told you that the first half will be the multiples of the second half. If you know the first half, then the second half can be generated. So this is a series like I told in a previous session itself. Even then, let me repeat it. Some people might have forgot. So let me make a quick move of it, guys. Like if you generate 1, if you have 1, then what you can do is 100 by 1 produce you again 100. So first number, if you know what, the last number can be produced. The same way, like if you know that, yes, square is the optimization one, but your friends, many of the people has forgot about it. So since long time, I believe, right? So they forgot. Okay. So here, if you know the first number, the next half can be generated. This is the reason behind it. So this is what I say, use square root of the given number time. Here I'm taking the perfect square number like 100, guys. So this will be working for all the numbers. So if you know the first half till the square root for any number, the next half will be the multiples of it. So here, if at all the number it is divisible within the square root of the given number time, then for sure, then the remaining number also will be divisible. So it is not required to go to n by 2 times also. You can stop your process like square root of the given number time. That is the reason behind it. So reason behind square root of the given number time is if you know the first half of any number, like square root of the till the square root of any given number, then the next half is a multiple of it, is not required to do it. So you can optimize by making square root. This square root can be done by using importing a square root method, or you can just make use of this particular int, and here we can just make it as with the power of 0.5. Just give me a minute. Are we right? .5 or the square root. So I believe, right? Everything is right. So either you can just make use of the predefined function, guys. I'm just using user-defined function. So you can use predefined function also, math.square root. So here we are defining like in the square root can be written like 0.5, right? This is what I'm writing here. Okay, nothing new here. I'm doing square root of the given number. And I told you the reason behind why is the square root of the given number. So now this will be working fine. So whatever the range it might be. So if it are like 10 to the power of 8, so square root of 10 to the power of 8 times only you're going to execute it to find out the particular number, right? So you can just go ahead. So even now executed, you can notice that output wise no changes at all. Output wise same output. The only difference what will be done here is the only difference in execution time. So here we are executing with a small number, right? So when you're going with a huger number, it may vary, guys. Okay, so this is done, and followed by you can just go ahead. So far we are dealing only with the prime number logic. Okay, now we can just go ahead. We are done only one part of the program. So you can just continue with it. And here, what is that we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to, we accept a number, we are generated the prime number. We are generated all the prime number and we are kept in a list. And what is that we are supposed to do? We are supposed to do the sum of consecutive element, isn't it? Sum of consecutive element, you are supposed to do it. And here I told you that I didn't stress one point, right? The point is all about here. Just I'll show you a question. So for any given number, you can just note the sum is starting from 2. So they're not picking from in between, like 3 plus 5, they are not picking it. They all the sum they are starting only from 2, like 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7. So always they are starting only with the summation from the first prime number. This is the logical secret behind it. So if you crack this one, you can do it easily. This is what I told you, something I didn't say. If you look at this example, that will be very clear. For each and every summation, they are taking from the beginning, right? From the beginning of a number, they are taking. They didn't pick in between, like this, they didn't pick it. They are taking from the beginning. This is the logical sequence behind it. Now we can just go to the program. We can just work on it. What happened? Someone has pinged me. So you people are posting the answers. Okay, let me complete it and I'll see to you guys. No worries. I'll check your answer. So here, what is that we are supposed to do now? Now this prime number list is generated. We have a list of prime numbers in a list. Now we can just iterate this list like for I in range of starting from 0 till len of our list. So I'm going to iterate our list one by one. So what is that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the summation. I know that this particular number, this particular list consists of only the prime number list, right? So like the values, like what is the value we got? We got the value like, so 2, 3, 5, 7, okay, 11 and so on. So now what is that we are supposed to do? A very simple task. Sum two number and check whether the resultant is also a prime number. Our work will be simple, right? So I iterate this array, declare some element called like what I can mention. Sum1. Okay, sum is a keyword. So let me make it a sum1. Initial value, let me make it as 0. And now let's go ahead. So here sum1 plus assign. What is our list of I? So first number will be added and this would be to the sum. And here what is I'm going to check it if so within the range, right? So here we are supposed to check the range also. I can do sum of any numbers, like sum of like the numbers between like 2 to 50, I can do it, but I should just follow this range also. So what I can do here is here I can check whether my sum1 is less than or equals to the given number. Each and every time you're supposed to do it, to do the summation of it and check with the given number whether it is lesser. If it is lesser, what you can do is you can just check whether this sum is a prime number or not. So what you can do is you can just do one thing. You can just write a function like is prime. So this is generation series, guys. So here we can't able to use the same function here. Okay, the same program can be written one more way also. I'll let you know later. Now what I'm doing is prime function. I'm just going to write it. So here I'm going to pass this sum1. I'm going to check whether it is a prime or not. So if it is a prime number, I'm going to go ahead further. Like I'm going to count it. So we can write a function like is prime here, like def. So we have predefined function also is prime, guys. I didn't speak about it. I'm speaking about function logic where we are going to write it. So here I'm going to receive the value what I'm passing here. During a function call, I'll pass the value, right? So I'm going to receive here the same rule. So what is the rule? You can just make use of it. You can just make use of the same loop. Okay, the same loop, you can just make use of it. Just give me a minute. I'll have a copy. So this is done. And here instead of, I'll make it as I. Okay, I'll remove this thing. So here, just give me a minute. So instead of this, the given number is, so whatever you're passing, there is a given number, right? So here we are taking one number as I and we are doing here, whatever the number passed here is a given number. Let me take it here. And same way, let me have a sum1. So this is a function. This is a function we are writing to check whether the given number is a prime or not. If it is a prime number, we are supposed to return true. Else we are supposed to return false. I'll be returning false here if this condition is satisfied. Else Okay, throughout the program when everything is going smooth, then we are supposed to return true as the output. So this is done. A very simple logic here, guys. I didn't write any complex logic here. A very simple thing. So whatever passed inside this one, it is going to say us whether it is a prime number. In the sense, it is going to throw us true as a value. If it is not, it is going to throw us false as a value. This is a scenario. When you go here, so here this function is whenever we are going to pass some value. So what happens here? First two will be added. Two will be passed here. Okay, whatever the summation you are doing, when it is less than this value, it will be passed. Okay, so it will be passed here. It's going to check whether it's a prime or not. And if it is prime, what you can do is you can just have one counter like count, and initially you can have this counter value to 0. You can just count a count here. I can have like count plus assign 1. So this is done. Coming outside, you can just print a count value. I can print a count value. This can be done. And if you want, you can just print a list value also. So for your reference. Okay. So this is also done. So I guys, yes, we modified here. Yes, you're right. Yes, iteration, right? We modified here. Just a minute. A small mistake. Someone modulo I guys. Sorry. Yes. This has to be modified. Someone modulo I. So I is the one we have it here, right? So this has to be divided. So when you're doing changes, we made a small mistake here. So this is done. So fine, we can just go ahead. So everything is done, guys. That's it. You can just execute this one. So indentation issue. So what is the indentation? Just a minute. Give me a minute. So I believe somewhere here itself we made a problem. Yes. Just give me a minute. I'll share you the output. So here we will consider one rule, guys. We are supposed to consider it. Okay, just give me a minute. We'll see to it. So if at all like 20 is given as per the rule, so what is the display? Count value is 3. But as per the question, what is it we are supposed to display? Count value should be 2 only, right? It should not be 3. So it should not be 3. Why it is? They are saying as 2. So summation of these two is 7. Okay, and same way summation of these element is 17. So why it is coming 3 here? As per our logic, can you people guess what is the reason behind it? So why do we get 3 here? So actually answer should be 2. So we got 3. Why it is? Look at the program and identify what is the one we are supposed to avoid here. Yes, you're right. So we are not supposed to include the value 2, right? So this is what they have said here. So look, let me show you the question again. 3 to n. So this is a rule, right? So this is a rule for 3 to n. If at all you are including, you can just write only one step here, like given number, the count minus 1 can be taken. So either you can just avoid it here and not equals to, and some not equals to 2, or you can just write count minus 1. Is this clear? Do you have any doubt in it? Or do people, why should we avoid 2? So in the question they mentioned it. That's the reason. Yeah, you're mentioning 2 should be avoided. Okay, fine. Yes, guys, you're right. So everyone is clear, right? Okay, fine. So I'll just move on to the next question, guys. Just give me a minute. Let me pick the next question. Just give me a minute alone, guys. I'll just pick the question. So we have a lot of questions like this. Just a minute. I'll just share you the question part. Here it is. This is our second question. Just go through it. Let me have an alignment and I'll come back. Okay, fine. We can just start this one, guys. So for all the problems, if you crack the logic, then everything is easy, guys. The logical sequence has to be cracked. Listen, yeah. Where is the pen? Yeah. So let us start this program. The problem solver has found a new island for coding. Named it as Philaland. These smart people were given a task to make purchase of item at island easier by distributing various coins with different values. Okay, so what is that? They found a new island and they are supposed to do the purchase at the island. And what is that their task is? Their task is to make new coins. Okay, this for distributing the different values. Manish has come up with a solution that if you make coins categories such as $1 till the maximum price of the item in present in island, then we can purchase any item easily. So are you clear? A person called Manish, he has came with a solution. So what is the solution? So if at all the maximum price in the island is like $100, okay, assume that $100 or $10. We can just make it $10. That'll be easy, right? So minimum amount. So the maximum product, whatever that is sold in this island is of $10. So then Manish is saying that we can just make a coin like $1, $2, $3, and till $10 we can make it. So 10 coins we can make it. He is saying. He had the following example to prove his point. The person is trying to prove it. Suppose the maximum price of the item is $5, then we can make the coin like $1 to $5 to purchase any item till 1 to 5. So this is whose point? This is Manish point. He's saying that this could be the best solution. And same way, a person called Manisha. So she is being keen observer suggested that we could actually minimize the number of coins required and gave the following distribution. She is saying that one more person is seeing some other view. So what is the view she is saying? That she is saying, so if at all you want to purchase some item, it is sufficient to have like $1, $2, $3 alone. So according to him, any item can be purchased. Okay, actually this is her, guys, sorry. Okay, this is her should be technically this. Okay, according to her, any item can be purchased one time within a range of 1 to 5. So what Manisha is saying is, so she is saying that if at all you want to purchase any item from 1 to 5, it is not necessary to have like $5. It is sufficient to have a $3. So everyone was impressed with both of them. Your task is to help Manisha come up with the minimum number of denomination for any attribute, maximum price in Philaland. So what is it they are saying is, according to Manish, he is saying that it is very simple. Like if at all you have a 10, if you want the item in the Pilalan is all about 100 rupees, generate 100 coins. This is what he is saying. But Manisha is not saying like this. She is saying like, if at all you want 5 rupees, the maximum price of the item in the island is 5 rupees. It is sufficient to have $3 alone. The summation of this any $2. Like if you want to buy something for $5, he can give like one $3 and one $2, right? So what happens here? The minimization of coin happens. It is not required to. We can save like $4 and $5. It's not required. So what is our task here is, if at all some amount is given from the user, like just a minute. So if at all like amount is like, so first one is test case, guys. So in an input, this one is your test case. So what is it they're saying is, this is the number of test case, and this is your first input, and this is the second input. If they are giving like the amount is 10, then they are saying that the maximum number of coins required to spend for 10 rupees is only 4 coins. And same way they are saying that if at all the maximum product in island is $5, then he is saying that it is sufficient to have only 3 coins. We are not supposed to distribute more coins. So we are seen for 3 coins, right? Can you people just think for how it is for 10 coins, only 4 is enough? If it is of 10, so you can just think to it like the coin like 1 rupee. Just a minute, let me clear the scribblings, guys. If it is of 10, you can just notice that 1 rupee coin, 2 rupee coin, 3 rupee coin. This is for 5 rupees. She's saying that these 3 coins is required. If it is 10, you can just add one more coin like 4 rupee coin. So if you have only these 4 coin, I can just form this amount 10, isn't it? Okay, we can have a detailed study about it. You people, I need you people to just work on it. So since we have a very minimal time, I can't give you much time. I'll just give you the strategy. Just try to crack the strategy behind it. So I'm just keep on saying, for each and every program, once you crack the strategy behind it, everything will be easy. Strategy cracking is a very tough one. So once you've done that particular part, everything else will be easy. So as for the question scenario, what are the category we have? So we have like maximum cost. So as per the question, what they are giving is, the user may be given any cost, like any cost, and Manish is giving like some scenario according to him. And same way, Manisha is also giving some scenario according to her. Okay, and here what is that we are supposed to do? We are supposed to pick the minimum number of coins. This is a suggestion what we are supposed to go ahead with it. So when you go ahead minimum number of coin, then for sure Manish point is not going to help at all the situation, right? So you can just take some scenarios, like if at all the coin is 5, like or coin is 8, coin is 10, so amount, maximum amount to be the finale is 10 or 3 rupee or 1 rupee. So according to Manish, so he's saying that 1 2, so till 5 he's saying, and same way if it is 8, he's saying that 1 2, so till 8. So he's saying that starting from 1 rupee till those many number of coins you should generate it, then it will be easy for selling the product, right? So, but Manisha is saying something strategy which is very optimal way. So we can just think to it what she is saying here. So when you look at Manisha, she is saying that for 5 rupee coin, it is required only like 1, 2, and 3 rupee coin is sufficient. The same way she is saying that if it is 8 rupees, like we can just consider like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So within this coin, I can generate 8 rupees. And for 10 rupees also, I can generate within this. Okay, for 3 rupees, 1 and 2 rupees sufficient, right? 1 and 2 rupee gives you 3 rupees. And for 1 rupee, 1 coin is sufficient. So according to Manisha, if you take the strategy, you'll be coming like this. So when you look at the number of coins, here 3 coins is required. Here 4 coins is required. 4 coins is required. And here 2 coins is required. Here 1 coin is required. So what is that you're supposed to look at here is, so based on the amount, number of coins is varying. So how to crack the strategy? So if it is 10 rupees, maximum 4 coin. Same way, 8 rupees, maximum 4 coin. 5 rupees, maximum 3 coin. So 3 rupees maximum 2 coin and 1 rupee maximum 1 coin. Can you people crack the strategy behind it? Just try it. I'll help you out. Someone list. Good. Just try to do it. Guys, those who posted your answers, I'll just tell the comment at the end, guys. Majority of your coding, whatever you posted for the previous question is good. So you use very shortcuts, right? So like instead of checking prime number again, you use in operator. Good, that's good. So what is the logic? What's the logical sequence behind it? Can you people let me know what is that? Have you found the logical sequence? What is the logical sequence Manisha is trying to do here? Okay, log 2 of n because the number can be represented as a power of 2. Good. Ragi is good. Your logic is good. Others? Okay, listen, I'll just help you out how to crack this one, guys. So you should know that normally you can just note the wherever you're referring or where you're searching, they'll be saying it's a power of 2, right? The number can be represented as power of 2. You should know how is that derived from. Okay, how is that? So listen here, I'll take a small chart here. Like what is the maximum cost? And what is the denomination? Denomination in the sense, what is the number of coins is called denomination. Okay, in the forthcoming session, we'll be seeing with this term. Most commonly, we'll be seeing it. So just we can go ahead. So I'll just show you some sequence logical sequences there. We'll just see to it. Just a minute. So look at here. So if you take like 1 rupee coin is required, right? So if you take 2 rupee, so if you take 2 rupee, I can have 1 rupee also. Like 1 rupee also gives you like 1 rupee as well 2 rupee. So when you go for 3 rupee, maximum 3 rupee, so here at this place, I have a 2 option, right? So at this place I have a 2 option. Either I can place 1 rupee or I can place 2 rupee. Isn't it? So here 2 coin is allowed in this denomination. So for the maximum cost too, either I can place 1 rupee or I can place 2 rupee. So as per the rule, what I'm saying here is choose the maximum denomination and place it here. So somehow if you want to form 2 rupee, 2 coin is required. So to choose the maximum denomination, the maximum amount from it. So whether 1 rupee is the maximum or 2 rupees maximum. If at all 2 rupees maximum, then place the 2 here. The same way, those 3 rupee can be formed by using this, right? So when you come for 4 rupee can be formed by using like 1 rupee, 2 rupee. And when you come for 4 rupee, I have a 2 option. Like I can place 3 here as well as I can place 4 here. So what I say, when you have a multiple option to be placed, So 1 and 2 cannot form you 4. So for sure I'm supposed to add one more rupee for adding this one. So for this, either I can have 3 rupee or 4 rupee, but it's always wiser to have a maximum denomination. The maximum denomination is 4 rupee. So now go ahead. The reason began, I'll let you know. If at all you're adding a 3 rupee, only for the particular condition will be satisfied. For the remaining condition will not be satisfied. So if you assume that if you add a 3 rupee here, you'll have like 1 rupee, 2 rupee and 3 rupee. Even now also you can just say that I can form 4 rupee. That is fine. Yes, that can be formed. I do agree. Instead of adding 1 comma 2 comma 4, if you add 3 also, that's fine. But look at here. I'll just go to the next one for 5. So this is sufficient. 4 plus 1 gives you 5. That is sufficient. But when you come here, 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3, so 3 plus 2 gives you 5. That's okay. So when you come here, next one, I'll just go to the next one, 6. So you can just form 1 plus 2 plus 4. Okay. So this is fine. For 6 also, I can form like 1 plus 2 plus 1. So sorry, 1 plus 2 plus 3. It can form it. The same way, when you go for 7, you can notice that summation of this forms you 7, like 1 plus 2 plus 4 gives you 7, but here it is not required, supposed to add a new coin. So that is the logic behind it. So whenever you're choosing with different denomination, try to take the maximum denomination. This is the logical sequence. And here when you go for the next coin like 8, so 8 I can have like the, just a minute ma, like 4, right? So here what are the option is there? I can add like what is the coin which is not added within the range? So 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can add any coin here, right? So here what I told you to add the maximum value. So you can just take a maximum denomination and add it. This is the logical sequence behind it. So when you go with the next one now, like 9, okay, keep on goes like this, like 9, 10, 11, 12. You can just keep on going. You can just go like this, like 10, 11, 12, 13, okay, 14, 14, 15, okay, and 16. The reason I'm keep on writing here is, so here when you add this one, you'll be getting the summation like 15 I'll be getting. Till this, these coins is sufficient. Okay, I mean that the maximum coin is 4 coin is sufficient. Oh God, sorry guys. So here till this coin is sufficient. Starting from here till 15, this coin is itself sufficient. Is not required to add a new coin. Till 15 it is fine. So only for 16 you're supposed to add. So you can just notice that some sequence is coming here. So like for 1 rupee I require 1 coin. So when you for 2 rupee I require 2 coin. For 4 rupee I require 3 coin, right? Where the coins is increasing, you're supposed to look at it. So for 8 rupees you require 4 coins. Okay, and after this till 15 same. Again for 16 rupee you require 5 coins. This sequence, can you understand it? So the number of coins is keep on increasing. At which point it is increasing? Okay, from this we can just have an observation study here. Like I can just take just a minute. I'll have a one table called count of coin, and here we can just make it here. Like just give me a minute. So one rupee from 1 to 1, and same way 2 coins. Okay, from 2 to 3, right? Same way 3 coins from 4 to 8. So 4 to 7, right? Same way 4 coins from, so 1 coin, 2 coin, 3 coin, and same way starting from 8 to 15. 8 to 15. Just a minute. 2 coin, 3 coin, 4 coin, and here starting from 16 to I believe till 31, we'll be getting the same number of coins, that is 5 coins. So what is the relationship between these two? If you crack this one, you can just identify easily. What is the relationship between the number of count of coins Manisha is trying to say and the range? Okay, a simple thing what you can just understand here is, what is this one? This one is literally like 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2, 2 to the power of 3. This could be the number of coins. Okay, the range is there, right? So it will be like less than 2. The first one could be like it is less than 2. Okay, the range will be like this, 2 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So here the power is, the money is less than the power of it. So these powers are the number of coins it is treated here. Yeah, with me, got this logical sequence behind it. Will you people try the program for it? Hardly 4 lines, guys. Your code will be hardly 4 lines, but understanding the logic is very important here. Can you understand this one? Is this clear? Do you have any doubt in it? Clock to input. Okay, fine. You're right. Are you people clear? Yes. Okay, fine. Only one is responding among the crowd. What happened to others? Okay, so we'll just go on to the logical part and you can just move ahead, guys. Just give me a minute. I'll just share the screen. So as you say, we can just write in a single line. Just give me a minute. So what is that your friend is saying here? Just a minute. Let me save it here. Philaland coin, right? Philaland coin is the rule here. .py. Okay, fine. This is saved. And whatever you people say is like accept a number. Printf. Enter the cost. Enter the maximum price, max price or max cost. So you people are saying that to print like log2 of, you can accept like this. So this is also fine. If you want to make it a little detail, okay, a little detail, I'll not elaborate it, a very little detail. Like what I can just do is, you can just do the division of it. So divide a number continuously, then have a counter of it. So this also gives you the same answer, guys. Okay, like what I can mention here. So here as of now, I'm getting only 1 coin, guys. Just a minute. I can have one counter. And counter value, I can just make it as 0. I can mention for I in. Just a minute. I can just make a while loop, not a for loop also. While the number is greater than or equals to 1, try to continuously divide this number by 2. So powers of 2, right? Screen is freezed. Okay. Just a minute. So I've made a new screen. Okay, now is that visible? Can you able to see the screen? Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so the same thing, this logic is the one where I'm writing here, accepting a number, and I'm just going to divide a number consecutively by 2. Okay, and you can have a counter. Okay, how long the number is divisible, that is the maximum number of coins. Okay, you can just write in a single line, or you can just do this also. Continuously divide those numbers. Since it is a power of 2, you can just go ahead. So until the number is greater than or equals to 1. So you can just start executing this. So here, let us give the maximum cost like 10. For maximum cost 10, we know that like it is required 4, right? So if at all you want to work with some other test case also, you can work with this, guys. Okay, it is very simple. The rule is continuously divide the number by using 2. I told you why should divide it. Simply if I say divide by 2, you can just understand division by 2, it gives you answer. The reason behind it is the logical sequence here is you should understand this Excel whatever are generated here. So this denomination sequence, you should understand it. If you understand this denomination sequence, then you can just understand why it is powers of 2. So if you take any number, divide the number by 2, how many times it is divided, that could be the number of coins. The reason behind it, this is a sequence, this is the logical sequence behind it. Fine. Is this clear? Can we move on to next one? Do you have any doubt on it? You can let me know. Is there any doubt on the question, or you want something to be explained this one? Is everyone clear? Yes, okay, fine. So here we can just move on to the next one, guys. So are you people aware of dynamic programming, or this is the first time you're hearing about it? Dynamic programming? No. Yeah, this is the first time you people are hearing. Okay, fine. Okay, guys. So I'll just give you the small intro about dynamic programming by today. By tomorrow, you can just start working on it. Okay. Just a minute, I'll just go back. So multiple screens are here. I'm supposed to close few screens. Just give me a minute. I'll just close few screens. Here we have a multiple screens. Just a minute, ma. Fine. So here I'll just make you understand about dynamic programming. If you have some queries, you can let me know. So why should I go for dynamic programming? First, let us understand what is this dynamic programming. This is the most widely used approach. Dynamic programming is one of the algorithm. So like we may come across like greedy approach, divide and conquer approach, brute force algorithm. We have different types of approaches, right? The same way, dynamic programming. So I know that. Guys, what about others? Guys, sorry, people aware of dynamic programming, respond me. One or two saying yes, and others. Do you want the intro for dynamic programming? What is it and how is it you're supposed to go? Or shall we move on to programming? Recursion. Yes. Yes, good, Riaz. Only you're responding. What about others? Guys, I want response from everyone. Sorry, people aware of it. Riaz, fine. I know that you know it. What about others, guys? Sorry, I pronounced your name by wrong. Ragiz, right? Ragiz. Yeah, fine. Guys, what about others? Are you aware of it? Okay. Ragi is only you know what other your friends are saying. They are new for it. Okay. Okay, from the intro. Okay, guys, those who know it, you can just take it as a recap. So don't worry. Once we complete this introduction part, we'll just move on to the programming. So we'll see a lot of programming based on this. Okay. So first, I'll make you understand about this one. So here, when I speak about dynamic programming, so first we should understand what is that, when should I go here. So this dynamic programming is one of the approach whenever we want to solve the problem in an optimization way. In an optimization way, then I'll move on to it. So we people know that what is that optimization way. So optimization way deals on the complexity of it, both the time complexity and space complexity. And here what is that we are supposed to do is, so we are supposed to we are supposed to take one particular problem, like a complex problem. We are supposed to divide, or we are supposed to break down the complex problem into a simple problem. Complex problem into a simple problem. And what is it we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to solve the particular simple problem in a for an optimal solution. Like if I say simple problem, I can just, even in your divide and conquer approach, we are doing the same process, right? In divide and conquer approach, what is that we are doing here is, we are taking a problem, we are dividing into multiple simple problems. Even in dynamic approach also, we are doing the same thing, taking a problem, dividing into a multiple simple problems. But after this, what is that we are doing is, we are solving this one in an optimal way. We are taking optimal solution for each and every sub problem. We are going to find the optimal solution for every sub problem. Guys, I'm making a typo of it so that it will be registering in your mind. So these key points are very important. Find the optimal solution for every sub problems. And what is that we are supposed to do it? We are supposed to store this data. After finding this problem, we are supposed to store the result. Whatever the result we have, store this result. Okay, in some memory location. We are supposed to store this result in some memory location. What is the purpose of it is, whenever we come across the same problem, we can make reuse of it. It is not required to calculate again from the scratch. I'll give you some example. Don't worry that. So here, whenever we are coming across a complex problem, breaking down into a simple problem. So don't think that when I say breaking down into a simple problem, it is like same as a divide and conquer. The only difference is, in case of divide and conquer, they'll not look for an optimal solution. But here they look for an optimal solution for each and every cases. Apart from this, we are supposed to store the result. But in case of divide and conquer, we are not going to store the result anyway. Here we'll be storing the result at some place, and this technique is called memoization. Memoization is the process where you're going to store the data in a particular area. So comparatively, what happens here is, it is not required to recalculate the result. The previous calculated scenario, when it is coming, it is not required to calculate again and again. We can pick from the memory. Like in our schooling, what we'll be doing, we'll be just reading the table like from 1 to 10. If you have a bigger number calculation like multiplication, we'll take the smaller calculation, we'll substitute, and we'll be solving the complex problem. Like the same thing happens here. So when the problems are huger, when you have the same repeated data, we'll never go from the scratch again. What is that they are going to do there is, they are going to store somewhere, and whenever they come across the same problem, they are not going to calculate again. They are going to pick the value. Okay, this is done. And next is, you people might be having a doubt. When should I use it? When this particular dynamic programming is important? So can I use it for all the scenario? So we have certain cases, guys. Whenever we have a overlapping subproblems, whenever we have a overlapping subproblems, then you can just make use of it. Overlapping subproblems in the sense, like when the same calculation has to be repeated. Okay, and you want to maintain the optimal structure for the program, then I can just make use of it. So I'll just make you understand what is this optimal structure and overlapping subproblem with a small example, guys. Okay, so here I want to make you understand one thing. So here also we have certain pros and cons. So what is the advantage here is time complexity is reduced. So time complexity is reduced. The reason is when you come across the same problem, it is not required to recalculate it. Time complexity is reduced comparing to the normal session. The disadvantage here is we are supposed to store the data somewhere. So what happens? When you're storing the data, space complexity increases. Okay, the time complexity decreases, your space complexity increases. So this is a problem here. Now, I'm going to make you understand with a small scenario, guys. So I'm just speaking you theoretical part. I'll just make you with a small scenario. Okay, listen here. So what is it I'm going to do here is I'll write a small algorithm for Fibonacci series. Fibonacci series. So in Fibonacci series, we know that like a number generation, like 1, 2, 1, so 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and so on, series generation. So here, this Fibonacci series, I'm going to make you understand how to write this by using recursion. So everyone knows about recursion. Just let me make a quick review of it. And the same series of recursion, if I'm writing in dynamic programming, what is the advantage? So we can take a huge program, guys, but since it is a startup, we'll start with the basic program. Then we can just go with the complex program, not to take the complex program at the initial stage. I'm just taking with the basic example. The first one is, what is it we are going to do is recursion method for Fibonacci. So here I'm going to write a generic algorithm, guys, to make you understand. So let me write like Fibonacci and just give me a minute alone. Let me complete this algorithm. We can just move on. So what I can mention here, just a common algorithm, guys. You can just take it for any programming. So I'll just take a common programming like just a minute, ma. I'm just writing the Fibonacci series in a recursive way. So I believe that everyone knows about recursion. Recursion is the process where the function is called again and again. Okay, so the function it calls by itself again and again is called recursion. So I'm going to explain this process by using a recursive way, and first we'll see what is the drawback in this approach. Then we can just move on to dynamic programming. So if at all, this is a common algorithm I wrote here, guys. So assume that we are supposed to generate a Fibonacci series for a given number 5. We can see in a recursive approach how it is going and what is the drawback in it. So here, if we are given like Fibonacci of 5, what happened? Fibo of 5 will be called, isn't it? So Fibo of 5 will be called. So when you call Fibo of 5, so this condition will be checked. This condition is false, this condition is false, this condition is false, it will come here. And this n minus 1, n minus 2. So just give me a minute, let me make it a little neater so that you can just make use of for all. So Fibo of 5 will be called here. So when Fibo of 5 is called, this one will be made as a 2 element, right? Like Fibo of n minus 1 becomes as 4 and Fibo of n minus 2, it becomes as Fibo of 3. So again, Fibo of 3. So again, what happened? Again, this Fibo of 4 will be called. So we know that what happened in case of recursion. The process will be called again and again. When Fibo of 4 is called, again it will become as Fibo of like n minus 1 again. So n minus 1 and this will become as 3. And here it will become as Fibo of 2. What's happening here? It will become as Fibo of 2. So again, this 3 will be called again. Like Fibo of, when we call 3, it will become as Fibo of 2 and this will become as Fibo of 1. Fibo of 1. So again, what happened? Again, this Fibo of 2 will be called. So this will become as Fibo of 1. So again, this will become as Fibo of 0, right? So 2 minus 2, it becomes as 0. So the same structure could be maintained for your right hand also. So here what is that is you're going to have the structure. So this will be the structure here. And in case of recursion, these many function call happens, guys. You should know about it. So you should not often use this recursion. Recursion is very dangerous fellow. You should not touch him often. The reason is he will occupy more memory. Okay, more memory will be occupied for a recursion. So the reason behind it requires some stack memory to store the data. And more or less, the time complexity for the recursion is too high compared to the normal programming. Recursive is too high. Yes, exponential time. You're exactly right. It takes exponential time. So it's not used often for the simple programs at all. So it may reduce your score. Listen, yeah. So this could be the structure. So if at all you're using in a recursive way, just imagine how many iterations is required for a smaller number. What is the number we took? The number took is 5. How many iteration? Count it. So you can just count here. First iteration, second iteration, third iteration, fourth iteration, fifth iteration, sixth iteration, seventh iteration, eighth iteration, ninth iteration, 10th iteration, 11th iteration, 12 iteration, right? Okay, am I right? 12 iteration is required for this one. Like something did I miss it? So I believe something I'm missing. So here, right? Again, here we missed it. Fibo of 2. So 13 iteration and 14th iteration. So it is going like this. So here we can notice here. So we know the calculation of Fibonacci of 3. But whenever what happens here, this is how the tree goes. When you go with the recursion, this is how the tree goes, guys. So how this what happens here, all the process will be stored in your stack memory. So when it reaches the end, again one by one it will be calculated. So we know the calculated value of 3. But even then what happened? Again, the second time when it comes across Fibo of 3, again it start calculating from the scratch. So what happened? Waste of time, right? Isn't it? So we know already Fibo of 3. Even then the reason behind it is we didn't store anywhere. So since we didn't store anywhere, we are supposed to work again from the scratch. So this is a waste of time. So here you can just notice it. Time complexity here is almost nearly like how many iterations is taking? It is taking like 15 iteration. For the number 5. Okay, number is very minimal number. It takes 15 iteration. Literally, we can just calculate it. We have some calculation sequence, guys. So if you want to find first 20 Fibonacci series, it may take nearly 21,891 iterations. Okay, this is the number of iterations required to find the first 20 Fibonacci series. So 20 nearly what is it? It's 22 iterations, right? 22,000 iterations. So it is very high. So the time complexity will be like big O of 2 to the power of n. S 2 to the power of n times the time complexity calculation is here. So which is not advisable to use it. So the same scenario, what can be done here is you can just reduce this complexity by making use of dynamic programming. So in dynamic programming, what is that we can do? So I told you about one technique, right? The memoization technique. So in those cases, what you're going to do is this is a normal approach, guys. I told you what is the drawback in it. So each and every time, even though we have a same calculation, we are supposed to calculate from the scratch. Even for a smaller number, it may take 22,000 iteration. Like exponent time, it is going to go here. So this is not advisable. So if at all you're going to go with the dynamic programming, so we do have a 2 types of approach. In dynamic programming, we have 2 approach. So what are the 2 approaches? First approach is top to bottom approach. So which is a memoization technique. Okay, here we'll be using this top to bottom approach, and the second is bottom to top approach. The second technique is the one. This is also called tabular method. Okay, tabular method. So as of now, we'll just go with the first approach, guys. I'll make you understand with the first approach. So tomorrow we'll be seeing a lot of problems based on this. Okay, don't worry. So here I'll just make a small changes in this algorithm to make the top-down approach, and we'll see how what is that I'm doing. I'm going to do here. Here I'm going to make a small task. Like what is that is? I'm going to declare one array to store the data. If at all I'm just calculating something, I'm going to declare some array and I'm going to store the data. So let us assume that whatever the array I'm declaring is like his name is memo. Okay, as of now, assume that. So I'm going to declare one array and this array name is memo. Okay. So initially this memo array I'm going to initialize with -1 just for assumption, guys. Okay. So just let me complete this algorithm for a dynamic programming. Same algorithm, let me modify it so that it'll be easy for you to keep track of me. So return memo of n. And here at the end, we can just add a code like memo of n assign sum. Okay, listen here. So here, literally, just I've added 2 lines of code here, guys. Just a minute. I'll just do one more process here. Not possible to bring it person here. Okay, so let it be as such. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to declare one array called memo, and with some memory location, I'm going to do it. So initially, this element, assume that, so there is an array called memo. Initial value for all the position is -1. Now, in this technique, what I've done is I've added 2 lines. Here you can notice that I've added this line and this line. So what is it I'm doing is, after calculation of each and every result, I'm going to store the data. So listen here. So what is that going to happen? The same recursive process is going to call the tree. I'm going to make use of the same tree. Listen carefully. Okay, I'm going to make use of the same tree. So, but we are going to make a small changes in it. So you can just look at here. So what happened when fib of 1 is called, the value of this is the 0th location, first location, second location, third location, fourth location, and so on. The array memory location. So when fib of 0 and 1 is called, you can just notice that this value, 0 value is 1 and 1 value is, so 0 value has to be 0, right? As per the calculation. Sorry guys, 0. Okay. So here, fib of 0 will be 0, right? And fib of 1 will return you 1. So when you come across fib of 2, so here again this calculation never happens. It will just, when you come across it, like fib of 2 will call you fib of n minus 1. So what happened, each and every time this particular memo array will be checked. So when you come across fib of n minus 1 is 1. So I'll check memo of n minus 1 not equals to -1. So whenever the calculated value is stored in an array, this -1 will be replaced with the value, right? So the value from the array is taken, it is not calculated. This is the point I'm just keep on stressing. The value will not be calculated. So this value will be picked and summation will be made here. And when you come across, see, the same thing comes in, the value will be picked and summation will be made here. And when you come across the same process again, you are not going to disturb again to with the following flow. The same flow will not be repeated. So in this time, when the memo of n is not equals to -1, only this part will be calculated, guys. When the same scenario is coming, this is not going to let you down. From here, the value, whatever stored in the memory location, will be just picked there, from there. So this is a memoization technique where you're going to store the data somewhere, right? So this is a memoization. You're storing it and you're picking the data, you're not calculating it. So now we can see that what is the time complexity. So for this one, what the value will be calculated? This will be calculated. This will be calculated as a new. This will be calculated once. This will be calculated. Yes, you are right. You are right. Ragiz, you are extremely right. Okay, listen here. These things will be calculated. So look at here, how many calculations required, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the number of iteration is only 6 here. In previous case, it is 15, right? So 6 is merely like I can take n times, right? N value is 5. 5 and 6 is more or less same. So here, you can just take the time complexity as order of n. The time complexity is only order of n in a linear way. In a previous scenario, like whenever you are using the concept of recursion, what happened? It is like exponent time. Here it is a linear time, which is the best one, right? So this is the advantage of using dynamic programming. So here I told you about 1-2 statements like overlapping. What is overlapping here is the same calculation part is coming again. This is called overlapping. Whenever you come across problem like this, then we are supposed to go ahead with this dynamic programming. With the previous calculated result, you want to find something. So even you can just take this coin problem also, guys. We'll deal with this coin problem. Today we are seeing this Philaland coin, right? So we have some coin problem which works on same thing, dynamic programming. So we'll see those concepts also. Okay. So if the number of coins they are denoted with different denomination, if they are giving it, then how to calculate it. So is this clear with why should I go for dynamic programming and what is dynamic programming? Are you people clear? Fine, guys, fine. Okay. Okay, guys, fine. So we can just, I believe everyone is clear so far.